Dear friends, welcome back to Automate with Rakesh. In this video, we are going to focus on Pandas pivot. What is Pandas pivot and how to utilize it? Everything in detail. Let's understand. Now to understand pivot, the very first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you this Excel file. This Excel file, if you closely have a look, it has got dates and it has got some set of different cities, and the same set of cities are repeating for different dates. If you see, now there is a temperature on that particular date for that city, and there's a humidity data, right? And the same thing is getting repeated. Now this particular data, just imagine if you have some thousands of rows of data. Now it becomes quite hard to really understand the data. That is where it becomes quite necessary for us to understand pivot. So here in Excel, if you click on insert and hit on pivot table, what happens? It is asking me, you need to give me a range of data where I should apply the pivot. Now what is pivot? If you're not sure, this will help you. Now if I have selected the data and then I'm going to click on OK, next thing, it is giving me this kind of a pivot table fields. Now if it is very first time, if you're using a pivot table, no worries. Let me show you how to use this pivot. The first thing, I am going to drag and drop what I would like to see in the rows. So in the rows, I want to see the date. So you can see in the rows I have got the date. So these are my rows, right? So in the rows I have got the date. Now the next thing I want, in the columns, I want to see the city names. So you can see all the city names have come. Now the next thing I want, the value I want to see is temperature. Now pivot table helps you to reshape your data. Now if you look at, I have reshaped my data and now it becomes quite easy for me to detect the values quite easily than compared to my previous data. With the pivot, after reshaping my data, you can see it has become more readable. The similar thing we can achieve in our pandas. So first thing you need is this Excel file. Without this Excel file, learning this would be slightly difficult. So what I'm doing, I'm passing this Excel file with a link in the description of the video. All you do, simply select, open the link and download this specific file to get the CSV. Now once you have your CSV file, for example, here I have my pivot example.csv file. Now with this, let's get started. The very first thing we will do, we will import pandas and we'll create an alias called pd, and then let's create a data frame variable called df is equals to, and I'm going to write pandas dot read underscore csv. Pretty simple. And here let's pass the file path. Now to pass the file path, I'm going to highlight this file, shift right click, and then I'm going to copy as path, and let's go back and simply paste this and simply write a R string. After this, I'm going to, let's print the data frame variable and run it. So you can see the entire CSV file has now appeared on my Jupyter notebook. Okay, now let's see how to apply the pivot. So I'm saying data frame dot simply write pivot. Okay, and within the parenthesis, I need to pass few parameters. Now what are the parameters for this? Simply search for pandas pivot. You will get this page. This is the documentation page. In the documentation page, if you see, there are a couple of parameters. Let's say index, values, and there's a parameter called columns, right? So how to use this? Let me show you. Now first thing, you remember in the Excel file, the very first thing what I did, if I right click and show field list, the very first thing I did is I selected my row, what I want in the rows. I want the dates in the rows, and in the columns I need the city. The same thing we can do here as well by the index. The index is nothing but your row, what you want in your rows. So I'm saying I want the date column in my row, and then I'm saying, so date is, this is the column, right? Date, and this is case sensitive. Ensure if it is written in capital, the same way you have to write it. Okay, great. Now next thing, what I want in my column. So the next parameter is columns parameter. Now in the columns parameter, again I'm saying I need city. If you run this particular code, you can see you have got a pivot. It has reshaped my data. Now it becomes quite easy. This is the city column, the same thing that we have seen, right? Similar one, similar kind of a structure that we have got in pandas. So if you see, this is my city column, and this is the temperature bracket. This is the temperature set of data, and this side is humidity, because I had two more columns, right? Temperature and humidity. Now you can see it becomes quite easy for me to read and understand the data. For New York, I have continuous dates and I have continuous temperatures, and this side I have humidity. Getting it? Now sometimes you may not need certain, let's say I don't need humidity, I just want to see temperature. Now you can control that using this parameter called values. With this parameter we can control it. Now how do you pass this? Simply say what you need. So I need temperature. If you run this, what would happen? You see only the temperature data. This is the basic use of your pivot. Okay, we are going to learn so many things around this. So thank you for watching. Let's move on to our next topic. I am pretty sure with this you would have got a basic understanding of how to use pivot and what is a pivot. If so, please do comment in the comment section of the video. So let's move on to our next topic, guys.